You need a quick revision. You need a quick recap of what we did in the database layer, or have you understood it over the break? Tell me, recap required or not required? You require a recap? Okay, so start with it quickly. So where are we? Just did anyone write the test cases, by the way, and test it? Service layer test cases? Nobody's responding. So that is no, that's okay. We'll write it together, but do it in a quick manner. So this is our Spring Security demo. And whatever we did in the last means before the break, last half an hour, did not have any impact on security. Only thing is in-memory authentication, we have replaced it by DAO-based or database-based authentication. So let me tell you layer by layer and you tell me whether you are clear or not. So answer the question. In the POJO, are we clear in the POJO? Many-to-many association, unidirectional. So keep answering yes or no. So I'll not waste time. So the only thing, see guys, this is your actual backend I'm developing. It is not just a Spring Security. I'm trying to give you a feel of user registration also, and login authentication will be done by security. So all these things are going to be required that way. So coming back to the point, many-to-many, because maximum number of roles I have assigned is 2. So it is not a size of many is not bad at all, not much at all. So we change it to fetch type.eager. Anytime, but it will involve 2 queries, 2 select queries, one on the user and one on the roles table. So can you reduce these 2 queries to 1? Can you replace these 2 queries to 1? Answer is yes. How? Using join fetch. You remember? So that you can try by using a add query annotation and all. Currently, this is simple enough. So how many tables will be created if all goes well? One is that users table, security users. One is that security roles, and the join table, intermediary table, pivot table, association mapping table will be created. So which are the parent sides? User and the role are parent, and the child record is in the user roles. 100% clear here? No doubt, no ambiguity, no question. Because I'm asking you layer by layer. Okay. Now, which is the layer above this? Repository. Oh, did I create a repository here? Oh, I'll just drag it here. This is, in a hurry, you make all these things. So I just dragged it to the DAO layer. So user repository, only one finder we added. I think everyone is clear on this. Are you? Is user repository find by username? Clear? Okay, so we'll not waste time. And similarly, in role repository, ultimately, frontend, your Postman or your whatever React frontend will give you the role in string. Spring container will convert it into user role and inject it. So here I'm as a test case, I'm going to pass a enum, and either you will have the enums are anyway singleton. So we are just we are checking whether there is any role by this particular role name. Okay. So are you clear on find by role? Are you clear on role repository also? Okay. Next one. So next one was I think this is where you thought you got confused. So here user service does it have to do anything with the Spring Security? Written it already. It has zero connection with the Spring Security. So I'm asking you a question and please answer carefully. It's not a complex question, just to check how much you are clear. This will be used for user login. Okay, 2 things, login and registration. So user login, user registration, both or neither. This service you will require for login, registration, both or neither. I got only one answer. At least give me 10 different answers. Not different, 10 answers. Of course, you are right. Guys, this is your registration endpoint. When you create a full stack project, the first thing is sign in and sign up. So you can't sign in unless until you are signed up. User has signed up. So I'm preparing your sign up API endpoint. Are you understanding me? So this is all for your adding the, so how it will come from your front end React? A user JSON will be sent. And here I was asking you which fields. Tell me which are the payload, what will be the contents of that add user request DTO or JSON or whatever. What will come from front end? You should know it by now. When user is wanting to be registered, what all you will add? Yes, username, password, and email. Are you all understanding this? So this is all you are adding. Optionally, you can add the roles there also. But we have written a different endpoint to add. So first we are doing user registration and adding the roles and then linking the two. You can always change. It is just a matter of adding one more service. Add user and role together. So you can pass the roles also there. So it is all as per your business logic. So currently I'm accepting, or rather we will be accepting name, email, and password. Active flag, we will enable it to true, and the roles will be all empty. Later when we say link, we will link it. So, okay, let's start looking at the, what is it called? Implementation class. So it is service transactional all. And since I'm going to add the role, add the user and link them to injected both. Why did I add the password encoder? Anyone wants to tell me? Why this dependency? Because your Spring Security Framework, does it support non-encoded or unencoded password, clear text passwords, or encoded passwords? Only encoded passwords. You got this? Yes. So for that, we have configured that bcrypt password encoder bean yesterday. So I've just injected it here so that I can encode the incoming password and match it with the database. So here in the database, in which form you expect the password to be? Encoded or clear text? In the database, of course, encoded. Are you understanding? So we have got that. See, otherwise anyone who gets access, hacker, to your database will easily, password will be revealed no longer. I was telling you guys, it guards you against so many attacks. Okay, so database attack is like provided. Nobody will be able to decode your password here. Okay, this is not exactly encoding. It is something called as hashing. Hashing is like one-way encoding. You can't decode it from here. So coming back to point. Now, so I have a question. I realized something in the break time. Tell me, I have shown you, right? Yesterday I showed you or not? I don't remember. I showed you. Yes, I remember. Bcrypt generator. Quickly access it. Bcrypt generator, or you can simply say bcrypt, and you will see somewhere bcryptgenerator.com. And suppose I give the password as 12345. Tell me, this is going to be the encoded password. So answer, is this length 30 sufficient or insufficient? 100% insufficient. Are you getting me? So here you will start getting an exception when you try to insert the user record, because it will be like, constraint violation, column size too small. So till we remember, I just record it, make it 300 and all. So it will be like sufficient. Understood why I changed it? Okay, next one. So coming back to user service implementation, start. This is very easy. Okay, let me ask. Well, let me not say anything easy or difficult. What is happening here? I'm going to write in a minute. We are going to write in a minute service layer test, so that I don't have to write a registration controller. But you take it up in the lab session. See, I'll give you only 1 hour lab revision because I have to cover so many points today. But whatever, anyone can write a /API /signup endpoint and test it with your Postman. So coming back to the point, what is it we are passing here? User Pojo. Setting the active flag to be true. Setting what? Encoded or clear text password. Encoded password, and here you are simply using your CRUD repositories save method. So tell me, if this works fine, where the record will be inserted? In the users table. Clear? Okay. Similarly, we have done the thing for the role. Are you clear so far? Save user and add role. No question in that. So I think the confusion was in the last one. I don't know where it was exactly. So now see, Whenever you are registering the user, you are not accepting which roles. You can change that and take it that, but the way I have written it, I'm not taking. So now it is the time. I've got roles, role customer, role admin, etc. You can add role manager, etc., super user and all. And I've got customers. Now is the time to establish the link. So I can think of anything, user ID, role ID, but I just gave you more generic thing, username and a user role. So is this clear? This thing fast. We have done this just earlier in the morning. So here we are finding, is there a user by username? So the moment it comes here, what does it mean? User details found or not found? Of course, they are found. Same way, here I'm checking whether the role, whatever is user asking for, is this existing or not existing? So if the control comes here, what does it mean? User is found, not found. Role is found, not found, or both are found. Both are found. Otherwise, are you understanding? The exception will throw you away. And now you just have to establish the link, guys. So here, this user and this user role are both persistent entities. And the moment you touch the state of persistent Pojo, who is responsible for what? Hibernate is responsible for automatic dirty checking. And this time it will, when at the time when the transaction commits, what will be the DML it will fire? Which DML and in which table? If all is well types. I said, upon committing the transaction, which query will be fired in which table? Insert query should be fired in that user roles table. Okay, so what is it we did? When you say user.get roles for the first time, is it returning a null or an empty collection, empty set? Null or empty? So we have guarded ourselves. Otherwise, you'll start getting a null pointer here. And here, you're just adding a role which user asked for. So again, modifying the state, and let us see whether Hibernate understands us or your JP implementer understands us. Now, are you clear? You missed a point, Aman. You so much missed the point. Username. So whenever you register to a particular web application, they ask you to choose the unique name. So if somebody, so for example, Madhura is a very common name. So if somebody has already taken the username as Madhura, I cannot take that name. Then I'll have to say Madhura underscore Anturkar or whatever I mean. Are you understanding the point? It is already unique. So clear? Okay. So like this is done. Now let us write. Okay, sorry. So see, this is all not only security, this is all entire practice. So if I want to you test this service layer, which is the layer above, which will call these methods, layer above the service layer. So controller or REST controller? You want to write a controller or REST controller? Of course, REST controller. This is all API backend. So we'll have to write a REST controller. So what kind of a REST controller you will write? User sign-in controller or sign-up controller? Login or registration? Sign-up controller. But, and okay. So you will have to write the endpoints. So which endpoints? So one will be this thing /user, I mean /API /signup. And maybe you will call these methods, save user, add role, link user role. You will take all the requests from the user and you will do it. But is there a shortcut so that I don't have to write a controller and I can test it directly? Of course, yes. So that is what we are going to do using test cases. Everyone knows unit testing. And there is one annotation at the rate Spring Boot test, which brings up entire Spring controller. So we will write those test cases, and as a optional homework, you can write the controller and test it with the Postman. Understood what is the next step we are going to do? Writing the test cases, avoiding one layer. And let me ask you ahead of time, we'll write the test cases and we'll see whether the tables are getting created, the rows are getting inserted and all that. And after that, for testing the authentication, do I have to write any new endpoint such as user login controller? Required or not required? User login controller, required or not required? Don't go by the tone of the question. Think and answer. 100% not required. Answer is not required because see guys where it started. Here, user want to access, where is my controller? You remember this? So user is going to check by sending the API /customer/admin/home, and then we are going to test whatever efforts we have taken since yesterday evening and today, whether it is paying off. That is, it will trigger that authentication filter creating authentication object, authentication manager, authentication provider, coming to our user service implementation, etc. So that is that login part is already in place. It is only the registration which we had to spend so much time. So who is performing the registration code? We are writing. But who is supplying ready-made the authentication and authorization feature? Spring Service Framework. Spring Security Framework. Are you getting what I'm saying? You'll understand it by the end of this, and then we'll go on to exam topics. So now let me just close everything. So are we correct? Yeah. So now open the test cases, SRC test Java, COM app, and create a new package. I'm going to go a little fast. We have less time and as always, a lot of things. So creating a package, otherwise I'll send you that. So we are writing the service layer cases. So let's create a package com.app.service, and here create a class here. So let me call it as service layer tests. Typical one, no mean nothing. So which is the one single annotation to tell Spring Container that this class is going to contain test cases? Give me the name of the annotation. One annotation does the job, guys. Spring Boot test, and it is internally consisting of so many. Spring Boot application for launching the main application, main class. Spring Boot test for starting the entire Spring Container. Tell me, what is it we are going to auto wire here? Anyone wants to tell me the dependency? Dependency here. What is it you are testing? A service layer. So what is it you are going to inject? Service layer as the dependency. So you can see here all my earlier JUnit annotations, before all, after all gone. We are using dependency injection. So I user service, right? This is your user registration service. I don't have to write any login. Spring Security is giving me all of that. So be clear, guys. So all this is done. And then you have a @test annotation. You can either write public void test cases or simply void. And let's keep the norm. Open your user service implementation. And let's write the test case for individual one in a fast manner. Test same user. Okay. Or tables, nothing is created. So Control-Shift-O. Okay. So now I just realized something. Okay. So what is it you are going to create here? This is where you are simulating the payload coming from the front end to the controller and controller giving it here. So let's create a user entity here in a transient manner. Transient user is equal to new user entity. So the first argument, argumentless I don't want to use, but this has too many. So let us add, see what I did was I saw the constructor, but I did not get the suitable constructor. So let us add. Once you have the payload and the controller, you don't require this. Till then you require. So I'm adding required argument constructor. I can do it with the Lombok annotation, but then you have to make the fields final, non-null and all. Instead, let's do the easy way. Anyone wants to tell me, what should I deselect? What should I remove? Active flag, we are setting from the server side, and roles little later. So generate that constructor. And let's do this. Oh no, not this service layer test. So here now I have the proper constructor to use. So next is what? Email ID. And here, this is the unencoded password, which is anyway getting encoded in our service layer. So let's have some password. You got it? Now you just have to call the service layer method. I'll SOP it. I'll not add any assertions. You can add the assertions. So user service dot save something like save user, transient user. In goes the transient, out comes the persistent. I said I'll not write, but let me not keep it pending for you. So assert equals expected is 1. The first record I'm adding, and I'm seeing whether I'll have to assign it. Guys, transient user doesn't have an ID. That ID will be null. So let's assign it to persistent user. Purposefully, I'm using all these terms so that you understand what is happening here. So here I'll say persistent user dot get ID. So if it matches, I know a record is inserted and I can confirm that. I'm sending you the test case, in short, the whole test class, because seriously, we can't have waiting for everyone here. I've sent you that. And let's run this test case. So I don't have any security users and all that. Let's start. You understood the test case which we have written? Keep a watch on the test console, JUnit test console. And I'm looking at this console also. Okay, so it has passed this test, looks good. And here on the console, I'm checking. So is it creating the table? Yes, it is adding the constraints and it has inserted a record. Great. So let's say show tables, describe security, users, ID, active, email, password, user underscore name. Very good. And here I'm saying security, roles, ID and role. And let's see that join table. What was that? User roles. You also check, guys. Okay. So are you seeing this intermediate table, the mapping table getting created automatically? Thanks to which annotation? How did we tell Hibernate that create this intermediate table? At the rate many to many. And how did we decide the name of the table? Using the join table. How did we decide the name of the join column and the inverse join column? Using what was that? Join columns and inverse join columns attributes. Tell me, are the tables created or not? You ran the test case, got created, and let's see whether the data is inserted from the secure users. Okay, so tell me, are you looking at the encoded password or the clear text password? Can anyone hack your database passwords easily? Getting the feel of it? So we just use the password encoder bean, which has implemented bcrypt password and encoding has been done. So one user registered. Clear completely so far. I repeated everything. So, okay. Now, that's the next test case. So here, let's write another one. See, my roles table is all empty. So let us add a couple of roles. Couple of means only 2. Customer and the, what is that? Customer and the admin. Yeah. So let's add that other one. Void test. I'll just check here. User service IMPL. Add role. So let's say here, add. Let me say this as customer role. We'll add one by one. And then I will add in the next test case admin role. So all I have to create is the user role, right? No, role instance. Okay. So this one is easy. SOT. Mm, again, I'll have this way. So let me say user service dot add role. Role is a, oh, this is a role instance. Okay. So I'll have to do this new role. And here I'll have to instantiate this. This is a enum, right? So user role. This is what? Customer. So customer. Okay. And here this will return me the persistent one. So let's say one. So this has been added, should be added. I'll simply say role one. You can add the assertion. Now I'm not doing the assertion. Done correctly, add role, customer role. Okay. Select it, run as JUnit test. What should happen now? If it works correctly, a record should be inserted in the roles table. So, and it is printing role equal to role customer and JUnit test has passed. So the ultimate checking is here. Secure roles. Okay. Done, understood, and working. Got it? Okay, great. Now let's go to the other role. So just copy that. Add admin role. I hope I'm giving you sufficient practice in Spring Boot testing, which is a very, very essential skill for you in the project phase. Okay, so that's it, I guess, right? Yeah. So this is such a convenience. Without writing the controller, without writing testing it from that your front end or Postman, I can do the service layer testing and keep all the things tested. So let's check. It says all okay. Green bar. Okay. So how many customers and how many how many user? One user, and the roles table is all there. But have you yet assigned any permissions, authorities for this Rama user? Any permissions granted so far or not yet granted? Not yet granted. They are simply two separate parent records. Now you will be joining them, linking them with the third service layer method, which is the most interesting one. So let's have @test void test, and let's pick up the name. Link user to the role or whatever. Add user, something I mean. Okay. Link user role. And let us add admin access or admin role to what? To Rama, one user. So accordingly we'll write. Okay. So all I have to call is user service dot link user role. So the username is Rama, right? Uppercase, lowercase, uppercase. And here the next one is what? Link user role ka next is user role. So I can say role dot, let's say, admin. Okay. So we'll see. We have set a message. Yeah. This is not how you write the test cases. You write the assertions. But here my job was populating the table without writing the controller. You can always add these assertions which I have explained earlier. So let's try doing this. Username and the role. Okay, let's test this test case. Run this, I mean test case. This is what the most interesting part is, linking to. So it says select query is fine, insert roles into the user roles and confirm, guys. This is that intermediary table. Are you getting it? User ID 1. Whose user ID 1? Rama's user ID is 1. And which is the access we have given her? Admin access. So what is the role ID here? 2. So this is perfectly working. And I told you that writing test cases takes your pressure off. As in, now you know till service layer everything is working fine. So now you'll be focusing your energy only on authentication. Registration looks fine already. Understood, working or not working? Not understood, not working. Any option. You got it, guys? Everyone, I just got yes, one yes. Working fine? Great. So now is the time, now is the real challenge, because this was all not at all Spring Security. This was all our JPA, our service, our POJO, many to many. It was this practice. So I'll just mention it, but I'll not give you in writing at all. So what is your optional work? I'm not saying today you might get time or you may not get time, sometime. You have to write a controller, call it as user registration controller, okay, and add a endpoint /API /sign up, okay, and that should have the full sign up request, which consists of user details, username, email, password. You create a DTO, sign up request DTO. It will have the required user details, and let user choose the roles also, so role names also. And then your controller has to simply call this, what is it called, service layer method, and test end to end. You understood what I said? And of course, you will test it from the Postman client currently, because we have not made any React frontend for this. Understood what I said as an optional work? Call these service layer method not from the test layer, but from the actual controller. It will be an interesting exercise. So we are done here. Now let us run it and check it out. Or shall we add another user? No, let us now, looking at time, let's not waste time. I've just got one user with the admin access. So now run this, day 22, run as Spring Boot app. Watch the console here. So I can see the test controller up and running. So you can clear the screen. Go to your browser. And sorry, not browser. You can test it with the browser, but we'll do it with this thing. What is it called? Postman. Let's check. Don't give any authentication. If you had some earlier cookies, go to the cookies and delete the cookies. In short, what I'm trying to say is start from scratch. So delete the cookies, because internally it is still cookie based. And let us access the /home. Guys, everything I showed you yesterday, but the major difference was it was in-memory authentication. So this is what I showed you is your project worthy DAO-based authentication. Definitely add it somewhere. If you decide, when I say add it, if you decide on Java backend, definitely add it. Without Spring Security, the project doesn't sound complete. Coming back. What does it mean? Is it working, this endpoint /home? Can everyone access it without authentication? Yes. You remember that permit all. No authentication, no authorization. Now let us try to access /customer. All this is covered yesterday. Unauthorized, as in actually what they mean is 401 is basically authentication failure. Okay. And you can see it on the back end. See this. No, it doesn't tell you. I'll tell you how to change the debugging, how to change that logging level to debug, and you'll start getting so many debugging instructions. Somebody was asking me earlier this week or last week how to have the debugging this. I'll show you in a minute. So currently this is fine. So what is it I have to do? I have to add the basic authentic authorization header. So go to authorization. No auth, change it to basic auth. When I share with you in a week's time, whenever I get, because I'm starting another training, unfortunately. So sometime before your projects, definitely, I'll give you a demo. I'll send you the demo, which will use JWT. So very tiny, okay, I won't say tiny, but some change. So basic auth will be replaced by the bearer token. And that bearer token will start with the word, it will be a JWT, JSON Web Token, all full encrypted and coded, a better level than basic authentication. So coming back to point, today we are just having basic auth. And here you have Rama as a user and pick up the password. Here, what password will you give? encoded password or not? Answer is not encoded. So I'm looking for my password. I forgot. So here it is, this password, unencoded password. Because how do you have access? Client doesn't have the access to the server side database, right? So here you give the password here. Password. And try to send it. And here, I'm not logged in as a customer, but how come I'm able to access the customer endpoint? Are you understanding? Rama has an admin access. Getting it or not? We just assigned Rama the admin access, but how come she's able to access the customer endpoint? Okay. Yes, permit all. It's not permit all. Here in the authorization is Spring Security. So in the security config, what is it we have said? /customer /star is available to anyone having any role as a customer as well as administrator. That's why it is. You got me? You understood what we are saying? And of course, you try to access her own endpoint, like admin endpoint. It should also work readily. So this is all about Spring Security using DAO-based authentication. You tell me the percentage you reached. I keep giving you options, 5%, 10%, 20%. You tell me. Let me hear a frank answer. How much it reached you on the scale of, 100%. I mean, 1 to 100%. 20%. Okay. So people are saying largely 20, 30%. Fine. So it is your job to make that 20, 30, 15, -5, whatever, to reach 100% with the practice. And like I said, even though it is today our last day together, ask your seniors. I keep hearing from people 10 years, earlier, 10 years early. So feel free to write to me anytime on the WhatsApp if you get stuck, or if you come across something which I have written and you don't understand or doesn't work as expected, give me just a day or two as a response time, but I'll definitely respond back. And one more request, guys. As I keep talking to lot of freshers as well as lot of laterals, please give your some background that ICST student of this batch and all that, and I'll know who you are. Credentials that way. Okay, so that is all about it. And like I said, I'm in the process of setting up the JWT base. I have an old JWT based demo, which replaces what by what? Basic authentication by JWT based authentication. So that also I'll just try to connect with React frontend, some ready-made demo I'll just pick up from somewhere and send you the end-to-end full stack application, which has JWT based authentication. But that is a totally out of context, not out of context, out of your contents basically. So this itself is a good starting point. So let me just create a zip of it and send you in case you missed out on some in-between steps. But don't be lazy. In one of these days, do add that registration controller, the endpoint. That will make you so clear about the things. Again, kind of a practice thing. And Spring Security is definitely a complicated framework. I'll never undermine by saying that, okay, I just tell you and you do that. So now let us finally move on to the next topic in the sequence. So now we are going to spend some time, looks like, I don't know, 1 hour minimum, I'm saying, in pending. These are all the it is not really a JVM architecture. Superficially you have as exam topic, but I'm giving you much better. So reflection API, reflection programming, JVM architecture and cloning mainly. And I'll also give you the JVM, NIO overview. So let us start. This is a theoretical topic. This is not very hands-on. So just that. What I'll do is, I think I've got the Eclipse ready-made project. Okay. So let me send you the help. I'll tell you at a proper time. Now, most of the things I'm going to show you ready-made demos. Otherwise, impossible. I was expecting, to be very honest, to finish the Spring Security in the first 1.5 hours, and it took us so much time. So now I can't spend so much time on individual. Otherwise, we'll have some topics remaining. So, help. Which are our topics? Reflection help. Yeah, take it, extract it. I'll start explaining the concept. So here, when you talk about, okay, what are we doing? We are not learning for the next 1.5, whatever 1 hour, 1+hour, not advanced Java. I'm taking you back to pending core Java topics. Okay, so here you can open the basic, a very basic diagram I have drawn. So what is that reflection is my point of starting this conversation. So you have the picture in front of you, but I'll ask you in an interesting manner. Who has been managing the life cycle of web components, namely servlet JSP filter? I have to relate it to what you have already seen, web container. Who has been managing the life cycle of entities such as transient, persistent, detached, removed, Hibernate? Spring container, wrong. Spring container doesn't enter there. Hibernate manager. Okay, let's say this way, JPA implementer. Currently, the default implementer is Hibernate. So Hibernate is a pretty right answer. Next one, who manages the Spring Bean life cycle? You know, configuration beans or your component beans or service beans and all, Spring container. Everyone knows this. You have seen so many things like 22 days, guys, which is a huge amount of time we have spent in advanced Java. So coming back to the point, we had said this like directly, but this is the time, now is the time to understand how come this becomes all possible. Meaning, let's take one of the examples, okay? Let's say first day advanced Java, we created the servlet class such as my servlet or welcome servlet or whatever, hello world servlet, and created the class, and we could see that web container managing it with your deployment instructions. But what is the first thing in the life cycle of your this thing? What is it called? Servlet. Locate, load, and instantiate. So it will locate it from, it will search under WebINF classes, no doubt. But in order to find out under that WebINF classes folder, is there a servlet class? What is the technique it uses? Answer is reflection. Okay, so that is where, or the likewise, when you say for Hibernate, when it searches under that com app pojos, because you said that under the base package, how does it know that whatever, something this? Okay, so I don't know what happened. I mean, why he sent it. Anyway, so the point is, how does Hibernate figure it out? Again, using reflection. And same reflection is used by your IDs and the Spring containers and whatnot. So what is it? You add the object, which is totally unknown to your Spring container or your servlet container or your, what was that, Hibernate. And these containers, these third-party containers, use the reflection API. So are we going to use it? Understand the point. Are you going to use the reflection API practically in your application programming? Never. But who uses it? The compilers, IDE developers, the frameworks use it every now and then. So you will see soon the entry point to the reflection API is through java.lang.class. And then from that, you have so many methods like get methods, get declared methods, etc. And then we will reach the java.lang.reflect package, which is full of reflection API. And once you understand that, or once you get the idea, what is it, the reflection API? Reflection is better known as introspection. Or okay, introspection is too heavy, inspection. Okay, so these third-party containers, example, web container, your whatever, Hibernate and Spring Bean, Spring container, can inspect, can check whether whatever is followed is a servlet or is it a filter or is it a web listener or whatever. And in some cases, if it required, can modify the behavior also. So finding out the information about the objects which are loaded in the heap, or sometimes creating those instances and managing it, is all possible via reflection. So as far as we programmers are concerned, why did I take it in the last day? Because we never used it throughout. We don't, in the practical cases, practical application programming, you hardly require it. But of course, if you want to find out, I mean, if you need to do some introspection inspection, you need to do this. So everything, okay, this is a time you make a mental note or physical note, whatever. So whenever you are preparing for exams, interviews, just vertically go through this, and that will be more than sufficient to make you understand about reflection API. So read this and I'll explain. So it is going to do both the things. So first half, I'll explain inspection, and then I'll show you examples, all ready-made stuff now. Because if you start writing, it takes a lot of time. You can modify also runtime behavior in the sense it allows to create new objects. It allows you to call even private methods. So some people call it reflection as a, it is breaking the principles of encapsulation, abstraction, and hiding. So that is why as a programmer, you'll hardly use it, but containers use it all the time. And there's a very impressive concept of dynamic method invocation, meaning invoking the method whose name is not known at the compile time, on which object to be called is not known. Everything gets resolved at the runtime. So there's a name, dynamic method invocation. Read this twice. In our usual programming, hardly useful. But like I said, all your J2E frameworks, all your basically Java frameworks, IDEs, debuggers use it all the time. Okay. Now, see, why I don't take this in between, there is a reason. First reason is we never got time. The second reason is here. Now you know unit testing. You have seen unit testing. So JUnit 5 framework, that is your Jupyter framework, uses reflection to parse @test annotation to know that whatever follows is a test method and it can invoke it. Are you understanding what I'm saying? Just a moment ago, we wrote a test case, but we never gave any thought to the fact how your JUnit framework is calling it, thanks to the reflection. Respond. Understood the first line or not? Got some idea? You're going to see it in a better detail. Spring framework. The heart of Spring framework is dependency injection and separation of cross-cutting concerns using AOP. So forget AOP, but how does it manage that controller? And when you say @auto add some service layer interface, again it uses reflection to find out, is there any class which has implemented user service, some interface? Again applies reflection. Web servers use it. The easiest one, Eclipse. When you say control space, that is your IntelliSense auto completion. So when you say system dot, how does it know? You remember, everyone knows it gives you the list of available whatever members. So again, the completion, it does it with the nothing but reflection. So in short, everywhere it is used by the tools, not by the programmer. So why we don't use it in our regular programming? Answer is performance. You tell me, which will be a faster job? Suppose I want to create a order class instance. Creating the order class instance directly by calling the constructor, one option, option one, or via reflection, first load the order class. What is that reflection method you will see soon? Class.forName. Then via reflection, there is a method class dot new instance, and then your object gets created. So I have two options, which will be a faster one. Calling the constructor and getting the instance ready, option one, or second option is via reflection. Which one? Of course, direct approach is faster. That is why guys we don't use it. In some cases, yes, you need to use it also. And then there is a security issue. Sometimes you are trying to guys load the classes which may not be allowed by your class loader, or sometimes you are trying to modify the you're trying to call a private method. So in case you don't have a security permission, security exceptions can be thrown. So there are definitely poor performance mainly and security issues secondly. So this is why we don't use it in the regular programming. So since we are learning it as a exam object, this is exam objective, this is not a projective at all. So this is a very, very important statement. Secondly, that important one. So read it slowly. I'll talk to you. Let me start solving this. What is the entry point of reflection API? One single entry point. Name is java.lang.class. And the moment you see this, is it a generic class or a non-generic class? Generic class. Question mark is what? A wildcard, which can be replaced by any type. So let me ask you. When you create an employee class instance, everyone knows for the fact that class instantiation cannot happen. What is the logical blueprint of an object? What has to happen before the instantiation? Quick answers, guys. This is the first week of core Java. Class loading has to happen. So now I'm saying for creating the employee type of class instance, which will be the class which will be loaded in the metaspace method area, the type of the question mark will be replaced by what? Employee. Are you getting this? That is why they have given it as a unknown type or the ultimate type. So this represents loaded class information in the method area. So you will say we already knew this, but what I did not mention, you might be knowing it separately. I did not tell you. Listen to this very carefully. Let me ask you a simple core Java question. Suppose a main, okay, you have an employee class and you have written a test employee. I'm going to first week or something in core Java. And if I say employee E1 equal to new employee E2 equal to new employee, I created two objects. So tell me, how many instances in the heap and how many classes will be loaded in the method area? Don't count object and all that. Just count the, employee related. How many classes, how many instances? Easy question. One class, the class gets loaded exactly once and two instances. So this fact you know. But what I did not tell you was, read this slowly. JVM creates the immutable. Immutable is not modifiable. Instance of this java.lang.class per every loaded class in the method area. So in method area, the loaded bytecode information, the .class file is all loaded. But corresponding to, let's say, employee.class, person.class, manager.class, or order.class, or whatever. What was it? User.class, role.class. There is an instance created for every class loaded, and that instance is of the type java.lang.class. And this is that class instance, immutable class instance, which is what we are going to use for the further reflection API. So let me ask you a simple question. Hear the question again. When I say employee E1 equal to new employee E2 equal to new employee, how many total objects will be there on the heap? How many classes loaded? One class, employee class. But how many total objects would be there? Answer is 3. Answer is 3, guys. For the first time when the employee class gets loaded, emp.class gets loaded in the method area, what instance will be created? Class of type employee. So one will be class of type employee, and then additionally two employee objects. So this is the one. Are you creating this? No, of course. Where you are creating anything, JVM creates it. Understood why the answer is 3? What will be the type of instances? That CP, class pointer. So it will be, the first two will be, okay, first one will be of the type java.lang.class, holding the employee information, and second two, the next two will be employees. Okay, so this is my starting point. Now, are there any ways to get access to this java.lang.class? This you know already. Entire core Java and advanced Java has shown you this. So one is, there is a static variable dot class. So the moment I say employee dot class, what are you referring to? The loaded class reference, class of type employee. Anyone wants to tell me where you have used this lately, recently? We have used this pojo.class or bean.class where? Once in Hibernate, session.get method, and then in the what was it? In what? In Spring, you remember context.getBean. So we were giving a bean ID and a bean class. So that is where you have already used it. Is there any other way? Of course, yes. This I have shown you since core Java. Object class has a method get class. And what does it return? It returns the loaded class reference. And any memory, any recollection where you have seen this class.forName method? We had used it just once or twice, I guess. Yes, JDBC. I showed you that JDBC class driver, that com.mysql.cj JDBC driver, if you want to explicitly load, right now it is not required because it is later API, but that is where you are seen. So when you say class.forName, this specified class file, the bytecode information is loaded in the method area. The immutable class instance of the type class of whatever driver gets created, and that reference is returned to the caller. Okay, so here, and okay, sorry. So I'm showing you the ready-made example, but here, even for primitive types and arrays, again, you can use the static variable. So guys, I've written a lot of examples. You can just check, and I'll show you interesting things. Boolean is what? Primitive type or reference type? Lowercase b. Primitive or reference? Primitive type, but there is internally a class associated with that. So if you want to access it, simply use dot class. Or if you say class.forName, do you remember this? We had done it really long time back. What is it you are looking at? One dimensional array. You remember? This is a single dimension and D for double. So if you say get name or get canonical name, you can replace it by get name. What it will print is double array. What are you looking at? 1D array or 2D array? It's a two-dimensional array of type of references. So it will print L value and all that. And java.lang.string, two-dimensional array. So let us check this out. So now it's a little bit hands-on. So I've given you the reflection zip. Open this Eclipse project here. And this is your core Java style project. Yeah, this is not a Maven project. So what you can do is, you will just import it and we'll test it. Don't change the workspace. Continue with the same workspace. So file, import. Is it a Maven project or is it an ordinary Java project? It's an ordinary Java project. So open general, existing projects into workspace. Reached here. Okay, so select that. No Maven, it's not written. I've not written it as a Maven project. I don't have any dependencies other than JDK. Okay, so now we will have it as. So now go to that today's help. I mean, I don't know where you have downloaded it. And core Java topics, reflection, Eclipse project, and test reflection. So choose that test reflection. Here you can copy the project into workspace so that you have your own copy. You can play with it and all that and say finish. So tell me, this is a lot easier than whatever we have been doing recently. Got it imported, working fine. so that I can start with the instructions. I mean, I'll ask you to go through. Oh, this is with Java IC 1.8. It's an older project. So let us change the JDK, please. Right click on it. Right click test reflection. Say build path. Configure build path. Reach here. Right click on test reflection, or otherwise I can share with you. We are working on JDK 11. So here, and go to the third tab, libraries. Edit this. Replace it by workspace default library, which is JDK 11. Finish. And apply and close. Did it change to JDK 11? Edit, replace JDK 1.8 by JDK 11. Okay, now start looking at the source code. So there's a package P1 and so many testers. So first open. Okay, you don't open. Yeah, anyway, you can open this. So I just got a employee standard ID, name, salary, some static member, some constructor, pure core Java code, nothing complicated, and some constructors and some methods and all. We'll talk about it whenever required. So now you start looking at test one. I've written the complete test series for you to understand. So we are back to our desktop-based standalone application. So scanner is essential. Now I'm showing you different ways of accessing loaded class information. So start. What is line number? This is the first approach. So I'm asking user to enter the name of the class. So guys, this is a typical popular question. So I've given everything in writing. Wait a second, just a second. I'll just close unwanted stuff, so I can focus on the things. So here, these are the 4 methods. So if the username is not known, which is the only, I'm so sorry, the class name is not known, which is the only way. Can you use this static variable dot class? Can you use this get class, or will you have to use class.forName? Which approach will you use? In case of class name is unknown, already there is an answer in the code. Of course, if the name of the class is going to be told at the runtime, how can you use any of the other approaches? So go faster here. So class.forName, there are no spaces. It is a fully qualified class name. For example, java.util.linklist or java.lang.system or something. And what it returns is the loaded class reference. So you know the bytecode information gets loaded in the method area. The immutable class instance of the type, class of type, hash map, whatever you said, a linked list, anything that gets created. So this is step done. Now there are so many methods I'm going to discuss. So open the README and we will understand. So here, important methods I'm discussing for inspection. You yourself will understand it in an easy manner. So how to find the fully qualified class name? There is a method in java.lang.class get name. So first you get the loaded class reference using class.forName, and here you can find it. What are the types? You can have a class, you can have an enum, you can have an interface. So I'm not talked about enum. If you want to find out whether it is a class or an interface, there is a method isInterface. Understanding? Are you getting the basic concept of it? Guys, you don't know which name client is going to give you. It could be java.io.serializable interface. It could be java.util.hashmap, or it could be your, UDT, user defined type. So we are performing the inspection using the reflection API for a complete unknown class. Getting the point or not getting the point? Tell me. Because this basic, it is not clear, you will not understand any of the methods, you will not appreciate. Some answer is expected. No answer means you are not getting it. You tell me that which part you are not getting, otherwise I'll go ahead. I can't talk to a silence this, guys. I'm saying here, anyway, we'll run it and that time I'll ask you again, because I can't keep asking you 10 times whether you are understanding or not. So these are all the methods of your class, java.lang.class. But at least now to this, you better respond. Everyone knows that there are certain modifiers at the class level. Tell me, which are the modifiers? What all modifiers you can add for the class definition? Static class. A class can be static. Outer classes can be static. No. So what is it? First is the access modifier. Which are the access modifiers you can use? Either public or default. You know all that. Otherwise, it can be abstract class. There can be a final class. So guys, these are all the methods here. So how to find out whatever class user has asked you to load? Is it public? Is it abstract? Is it final? There's nothing, there's no fourth one. So the answer is using the reflection API. So which is the method we will use? Okay, high time you open the core Java docs. Please open because I can't see any responses from your side. Open the core Java docs. The first API docs we started with Java 11 docs. Switching the context, from advanced Java to this takes time. So I can understand all of that. And here, look at the basic class object, which is the root of everything. From object, do it fast. I'm not going to wait the whole time for everyone to respond, especially when you are not responding at all. So here, get class returns the runtime class of the object, and this get class method returns you the class type of reference. This is what I'm giving you. So type of the class modeled by this class object. Read the example. When you say string.class, what is it referring to? Class of the generic type string. And why we use the wildcard notation? Because we don't know which class user is going to ask us to load. Getting it or still not getting it? Understood something about it at least? Okay. So now here I showed you the methods. So one of the method is get modifiers. There are so many methods. So one of them is get modifiers. So it will tell you Java language modifiers, public, abstract, final, etc. So look at this method. It is returning you an integer. So from integer, how can you understand? So now we are entering into your reflection API. So everything I've written here so that it will be easy for you. When we open java.lang.reflect package, there is a modifier class. And modifier class has these methods: is public, is abstract, is final, is hidden, is module, is lot of methods. So from that, you just pass this modifier, whatever you have got from here, and it will tell you true or false. So now refer to the code and let us go further. Initial learning curve is hard, then you'll start understanding it. So let me ask you a simple question. Who is going to supply the name of the class? Is it hard coded here or is it going to be user supplied? Has everyone at least understood that part? So I don't know at the time of writing the code, what is the class? User might give me the interface name, enum name, anything. Okay, so here. Now here, this is where I'm, This is where I'm taking the fully qualified name of the class. I should say enter the fully qualified name of the class or interface. We are keeping it all flexible. Here, what will this return? Now at least answer fast. What will it give you? Class.getName will return what? Yeah, but fully qualified class name. You forgot the adjective, fully qualified class name. What will this return you? Okay, let me rephrase. When will it return you true? If the loaded name, the type is the class, if it is an interface, it will return true. So it will say interface. If it is an enum or if it is some other class, it will return you false. Got it or not? Got these lines? Nothing, nobody confused? Because this is a exam objective. So I'm preparing you for exam also. Now tell me, what is happening here? Creating the instance of your timestamp, local date time. So this is hard coded. So I showed you one way, class.forName. Is there any other way to get access to the loaded class reference? Yes, which one? If I've got an object, which is the method I'm using here? Which is the method I'm using, get class. This also returns me the loaded class reference. Got me? So this will return me fully qualified class name, and it will show you the timestamp, whatever current timestamp. Now, if I can, okay, so what is the third way? This is an exact POC, proof of concept. So here, if I say I want to know, I want to load specifically string dot class, easiest way is simply add a dot class literal. A class literal, static member, dot class literal. And when I say this, tell me, so all my worries will be over, whether it is reaching you or have you fallen asleep or lost or whatever. What will be the answer here? Please don't give me wrong answer. Okay, so the fully qualified class name, of course. So java.lang.string. What will be that here? Local date time is from where? Java.time. So java.time.local date time. What will be the answer here? Depends. Depends on what user has given me. Next one. What is it I'm going to, okay, I've got an answer here. Anyway, what is it we are having here? 2D array. 2D array of integer. So when you say this, I had shown you long back. If I say get class.get name, these are the two opening brackets for two-dimensional array and I for uppercase I for integer. And if you have a primitive type, because otherwise, guys, if you have not heard this and you directly see it in exam, you will choose the option of compiler error, and it's not true. So when you say primitive types, you can still add the dot class literal. And what will be the answer here? Simply a double. Okay, so run this and go to the next test code. So here, let me give the name of some interface. You have learned so many interfaces. So let's say java.util.list. List is an interface or a class. Basic collection framework, of course, an interface implemented by so many. So this is your fully qualified name. Is it an interface? 100% yes. So this was dealing with the unknown types, user defined. Users not defined, user supplied, I meant. This is the name, fully qualified name of your, you remember I created the local date time instance using .now. So that it is, this is the toString, a proper timestamp, fully qualified class name obtained by using string.class. This was your arrays corresponding class loaded, and this is the name of the class associated with the primitive type. So tell me, are we clear with the basics? Okay, so 1 minute recap. What is reflection? It is a core Java API. It is a basic Java, core Java API. Will you use the reflection API in the regular programming, ordinary programming? No. Which are the major two drawbacks of reflection API? Why we don't use it wrong? This thing, poor performance. It is not performant at all, and the security issues. You might start getting security exceptions and all that. Next thing, but who uses it? Where is the use case? Who's going to use it actually? Who has been using it already? Give me 2-3 examples. Web container, yes. J2E is a loose term. J2E frameworks, you can say. Full JPA framework is your, not this thing, Hibernate framework, your Spring container, Spring framework uses it left, right, and center. So for example, see, whenever you are answering, you should always justify it with an example. Spring container uses reflection API at the time of dependency injection. So in the controller, when you say add auto-wired, a service layer, or in service layer, when you say add auto-wired now, how does it find out that there is a, that this is the implementation class and this is what I want to inject? Applies reflection. So it opens the loaded classes and sees, is there any class annotated with Growler means repository and having that implemented interface using, there is a method in get interfaces and all, and that is where it is used. So now the next question. What is the entry point? Which is the entry point of this reflection API? Where does the everything start? Where does this whole API start? Java.lang.class. C is that uppercase. Is it a generic class or a non-generic class? Generic class. Is it recognized as question mark or type T? typically a question mark. Next one. But they are interchangeable sometimes. Next question. Yeah. So what are the, okay, no, let me not say generalize it. Let me ask you a question. Suppose I have already got a servlet instance in my heap, or okay, forget servlet instance, some instance, person instance. So I have already got an object and I want to find out the loaded class information. How will you use that? Get name is wrong. Wrong, wrong. I said I have got an instance. Which method you will use for that? Slight correction, Girish. Get class. And if you want to be, what do you say, specific, object dot get class dot get name gives you the fully qualified class name. If you say object dot get class, which you are right, returns you the loaded class reference. Perfect. Now, I want to hard code. I want to load the hash map class in the memory. Why would I do that? Not the containers. Okay, so if I want to load the hash map class, which I know I want to load a hash map class, which technique will you use? Your choices are get class method, using the dot class as a literal, or using class dot for name. These are the options. Directly append dot class. That dot class ka C is lowercase. It's a static literal variable in the class whose name itself is class. Okay, and then the last one. At the time of writing or running the code, if you don't know which is the name of the class is going to come all the way from the user, which is the only technique you can use for class loading. That is the answer, class dot for name. Are you understanding? Actually, don't say just for name. This is the for name is the method of which class? Class. So class dot for name. In goes the fully qualified class name. It will load the bytecode information in the method area. It will create that immutable one single instance of that loaded class and return it to the caller. Got it? Got something out of it? Next one. How do you find out whether it is an interface or a class? Can I figure it out? Answer is yes. Which is the method for checking the interface? Is interface. That way it is class, is enum, etc. Next one. How do I find out what are the modifiers? All answers are in front of you. I'm just confirming. How do you find out the modifiers? There's a method. Which method? Get modifiers. Correct? So class. So see this. You have a code in front of you. So loaded class you first access using class.forName or .class or whatever, and simply call get modifiers. What does a get modifiers return? Integer. And then you use, look at this, open the API docs case and search here for modifiers. So you will get it from this thing, java.lang.reflect package. Java.lang.reflect modifier it is, I guess. Yeah, it's a java.lang.reflect this. And here you will see there are methods. So which method is abstract? See this? Or you can see is final. What is that? Is abstract, is final, is public, and all that is default. And here you supply those modifier bits. So it becomes so easy to do the inspection of the loaded class. Got some idea? 5%, 10% as usual, minimum threshold. Okay, so this is where we are entering reflection. Let's take you further. So this is fine. This is fine as far as we have reached here. But what if I want to trace the inheritance hierarchy? Inheritance hierarchy. So what is there any method to find out immediate superclass? Answers are all yes. Guys, with reflection, you can do anything and everything. You can do the entire inspection, full analysis. So which is the method you got? Get superclass. What will it return? It returns nothing but okay, I'll ask you an example. You have your hierarchy, employee, manager, sales manager. So I'll talk in the code. Look at my code. Here my code. Sales manager dot class dot get superclass. Tell me what will it return? You understood what I said? Sales manager dot class, that is static variable, literal, class literal, dot get superclass. What will it return? Okay, All answers are wrong. Get superclass answer is highlighted. Why you're giving me a wrong answer? Get superclass, does it return you manager? What it will return? Look at the highlighted answer and answer me. It will return you what? Loaded class reference. So it will be class. And what will be the generic type, guys? What will be the generic type? What is the superclass of this thing, sales manager? A manager. So it will be class of the type manager. Understood me? So don't say manager instance. It is a manager class, loaded manager class. Okay, that is what it is. So in Java, can you have multiple superclasses? Of course not. So you have only one superclass. Then you can iterate. So what is the, so you will go from sales manager to employee to object. And on object, if you call get superclass, what will it return? Is there anything above object? Quickly, no. So then it will return null. Since there is nothing, no parent class, no superclass above object, object.class.get superclass will return you null, showing you the end of the hierarchy. I mean, top of the hierarchy. Next one. Can one class implement single interface or multiple interfaces? Everyone knows multiple. So the method name itself is changed. Be watchful, get interfaces. But interfaces are also compiled into what? Dot class file. And that dot class files is represented by class type of reference. I'll repeat the statement again, guys. The bytecode information is loaded in the method area. And the class type of reference, whether it is an enum or a class or a interface, is created in a immutable manner by the JVM on the heap. So let me ask you, if I say get interfaces, is it returning a singly loaded interface? I mean, corresponding to it, or multiple? I mean, array. Of course, array. So it becomes so easy to find out all the interfaces implemented by a particular class. So why don't you open the next example? Like I said, I've written it in a sequential manner, increasing difficulty. So just let me just read this. Yeah, you can solve. So start doing this fast. We'll take a short break after this. More you look at the code and solve the code, you start understanding the APIs faster. What are we asking? I'm asking the user, enter the name of the class, interface, whatever. And since I did not know, I have to use class.forName. So tell me, are you clear so far? 100%? Okay, next one. If it is not an interface, it has to be a class, because you all know enum is also what? A class which extends from internally java.lang.enum. Okay, so what are we doing here? This is nothing but finding the full anatomy, full internals, full inspection of the loaded class. So here I'm asking for the modifiers and I'll know, is it a public class or is it a package private as in default scope? Is it an abstract or non-abstract concrete? Is it final or not final? So tell me, understood so far? Finding out the modifiers, class level modifiers. You got it? Next one. What will this tell you? It's easy. I've given you the comments everywhere. This gives you the name of the immediate superclass, fully qualified name of the immediate superclass. You understand? It doesn't give you the whole hierarchy. If you want to find the whole hierarchy, you put it in a loop. While that class.get superclass is not equal to null and keep on printing the entire hierarchy. Like I said, sales manager, manager, employee, object, and null. So you can trust that. How to find out the interfaces implemented? So tell me, is it a single interface or can there be multiple interfaces? Multiple. So tell me, it's a bit of stream. There is a corresponding non-stream version. I mean, functional and imperative. So start answering. What does this return? When I say class.get interfaces, does it return a single valued or array? array. Array of what type? Array of class type. Don't get shocked. Interfaces are also compiled into a .class file, and the .class file is represented by a class, by the java.lang.class, irrespective of whether it is actually a class or an interface. Got me? Yes or no? Completely clear? Okay. And then you know for each so well. So I'm just printing out the names of the interfaces implemented by that. And then I'm saying, okay, otherwise it is an interface. And when I say get interfaces, you'll see what happens. Got some idea about the code? So we're going to run it once with the name of the class supplied and once with the name of the interface supplied. Run it. If there is a lot of time, we generally write such kind of things, but today not possible. So let's say java.util. Any class you know the array list. So tell me, is array list a class or an interface? It is a class, and see the full anatomy of it. So this is your fully qualified class name. Is it a public class? Yes, otherwise how you would have accessed it. Is it a concrete class? Yes, it is not abstract. And is it final or not final? It is not a final class, can be extended. Which is the immediate name of the, what is the name of an immediate superclass? Press the inheritance hierarchy. Array list is extending abstract list. Is it implementing any interface? Interfaces, of course, yes. List, because of that random access, it gives the O1 factor for getting the elements. And cloning is the next topic. So it is clonable and it is serializable. Understanding the output? You can try it for different things. You say, for example, whatever, java.lang.string, or you say java.util.date, and you can figure it out. And let me just show you once the name of the interface. So let's say java.util.map. Map is the generic interface. So here, java.util.map, and it tells you that it is an interface. So you can basically figure it out. If you want to find the super interfaces, you can say get super interfaces or something. You just look up the API. So is it able to figure it out? The details regarding name of the loaded type. See, I'm saying type because type can be class or an interface. You just have to say yes or no. Can I figure out the name of the loaded type? Answer is yes. How? Class, get name. Then what else? Can I find out whether it is a class or an interface? Yes, again. Can I find out all the list of modifiers? Yes. And if it is a class, can I find out an immediate superclass? Yes, which is the method get superclass, and I can figure out all the implemented interfaces also. Understanding it in a better manner, when I said reflection 1/2 is for introspection, inspection of the loaded class, which is available. Either you ask it to load user supplied or it is already there. Okay, so now this was all the information. Okay, let me say this properly. We have not yet stepped inside the class. So this was all the class declaration, having public, final, abstract, something. Class extends and implements, done. Now it is high time to step inside the class. So I'll just say this and give you a break. I know you must be looking forward to it. So here, now when you come inside the class, what all we have been adding inside the class? Data members, constructors, and the methods. So you have, I'll pause here, stop here. So you have methods to find out the various fields. Okay, but there are two methods. If you want to find, if you say simply get fields, it will give you all the accessible fields. But if you say the power of reflection lies in accessing even the private members. So if you want to find out private fields, you will say get declared fields. So here at this time, all the even private fields will be also available, but it won't show you the inherited members. And likewise, I'll show you. Can you find out the constructors? Answer is all answers are yes. Can you find out the signature of the constructor, the parameterized types and all? Yes. And most importantly or later, you can also find out what are the different static, non-static, all the methods which are belonging to the class. So this is what I talk about reflection API used for inspecting loaded class. So let's have a 10 minutes break here. I'll explain the API and we'll see the example. Yes, it is the most, what do you say, powerful one, powerful this. But of course, you can always add a security constraints and the whole thing will fail. You will start getting security exceptions. Anyway, so first we'll follow the inspection part and then I'll show you how to create the instance using reflection API, new instance methods and all. And then I'll also show you dynamic method invocation. So let's have a 10 minutes break here. We'll resume at 1:05. Talked about is how to find out the class declaration type of details such as name of the class and what else, your interface, superclass name, etc. Now we are entering within the class. So here, how to find out the accessible fields? Accessible means visible. Accessible is, visible fields. So the method name is getFields. And that returns you java.lang.reflect. Everything is in the reflect package other than the java.lang.class. And this field represents individual data member. It could be a static member, it could be non-static member. But the power of reflection also lies in finding out the private details. That is why I told you it is taken as a threat to your abstraction, data hiding and all that. But like I said, for the tools, these are the features which are provided. So if you want to find out the information about declared fields, that is a private members also, then method name is get declared fields. Similarly, I'm going to show you in one example. If you want to find out that which are the constructors, whether it's a default constructor, argumented constructor, parameterized constructor, etc., the method name is get constructors. And like how you have java.lang.reflect.field, here you have the same package, java.lang.reflect, and the name of the class is constructor. So you can find out if there are 10 overloaded constructors, you will get an array of the constructor type of elements, and this question mark will be replaced by the class type. So it could be your employee class constructors, string class constructors, or whatever. Ankit, you are unmuted. Please mute yourself. Next one. So if you want to find out the detailed signature, That is, what are the parameters? What are the arguments to the constructor? You have further methods, get parameter types, but I'm going to show you via toString, which is very easy. Whatever I said about the fields, also applicable to methods. So if you want to find out the detailed analysis about what are the different methods, static, non-static, what will this return? Still somebody is unmuted, guys. Please mute yourself. Keeps disturbing, breaks the flow. Okay, so when you say get methods, is it going to give you the visible, accessible methods? Answer is yes. So if you want to find out the private private methods, the corresponding method name is get declared methods. And when you say, the detail, the signature, the method, okay, what is method? Again, java.lang.reflect method. And then you can find out the name of the method, the return type, what are the method arguments, each and everything. So the same API, same API, but if you want to use for private methods, the name of the method is get declared method. So let's run it with some example and things will be clearer then. So open that and go to the next one, S3. You can already there are a lot of comments, so it is just a matter of understanding it or just running it. So here, tell me, what is happening in the first line? You are accessing, or okay, let me say this. What is EMP class? It is a reference to the JVM created immutable class. So let me ask you, when this line is executed, how many objects, how many instances of employee class are created? 0 or 1? I said when line number 10 is executed, how many instances of employee type are created? Answer something. Wrong answer. 0. What has been created is the type of the type class holding the employee. Employee class instance means employee object where you have first name, last name, age, salary, role, etc. So where I have created any instance, so no employee type, but class type of a reference holding the employee information is created. Now, this is now I've already explained. Keep the either Java docs or my README in front of you. So when you say employee.get class, get fields, what does it return? Accessible members from the class as well as inherited from the superclass. And all I'm printing is complete information. The field class is toString. You'll see in a minute. If you see my employee class, open that employee class which I've shared. It does have the private members also and the accessible members also. Just to give you that difference. So you will see it in a minute. Accessible members and the all fields and all that. Now, if you want to find out about the private members, as well as all other members from the same class, you have get declared field. So it won't show you any inherited members. If you want to find which are the constructors, purposefully I have given overloaded constructors. So one is, as always, default constructor. One is all argument constructor, and one is only certain arguments, required arguments constructor type. So here, if you see this, employee class.get constructors, what is it going to return? Just take a cursor here, constructor array, returns an array containing constructor objects reflecting all the public constructors. So if you add a singleton pattern and if you make the constructor as private, that won't be feasible. I mean, that won't be possible. Then you have get declared constructors. And finally, if you want to find out which are the methods, are you getting the feel of reflection tool, reflection API? You can find out the complete details just by knowing the name of the class. Everything, all internals are like getting inspected. So I'm finding out what methods, and when I say the method toString, you will see the full signature coming in 2 minutes. And the same API used for inaccessible as in private and its own class method. So run this parallel to this, run this thing and you can check the complete introspection. That is the inspection I'm talking about. So you can keep the code open here. All accessible fields. Tell me, which is the method I had used for this? Get fields or get declared fields? For getting all these accessible fields, which fields? Get fields is the method name. And you can check this is your public static data member. It doesn't matter static or not. And so only public members are accessible across the packages. This is running in separate package. So only this one. But when you say get declared fields, can you see? Can I access the private members also? Very much yes. Can I access the class level class level means public members also? Yes. And the default members, otherwise which were not accessible. Got the difference between the get fields versus get declared field? From the output, at least, I hope you are clear. The same thing I'm doing for the constructors. So how many constructors have I added in the employee class? 3. So can you see this? It is generally shown in the sequential manner. So can you see this? Once you have it, you have the full internals exposed to the third-party containers and all that. Spring container and I'll use this. So here, this is your parameterized container having constructor, int, string, double and double. That you can always cross check. Or here you have string comma double, something name and salary. And this was your default argumentless constructor. And which is the method we use for this? In the class, java.lang.class, there is a method get constructors. And I just iterated over the array of constructors and find out the details. Making sense? After seeing the output, at least making sense or not making sense? Some answer, please. Okay. Now, here are the next one. What is the next part? Methods. So when you say get methods, it tells you, it shows you all the accessible as well as the inherited method. So you can see, and guys, can you get this? The toString of that java.lang.reflect.method tells you so many things. So what is it? Obviously, a return type. This is that fully qualified class name. This is the method name. Doesn't require, it's a getter, so no argument. So let me highlight this. What are these methods? These are all the, what is it called? Employee class methods. Okay. So these are all accessible. This one also, sorry, I did not, this, all these. But can you see here, guys? Are these the employee class method or are they the inherited methods from object class and all that? Can you see? Some of them I've highlighted. Of course, object class API. You remember wait method and all. Then of course, equals, hash code, get class, etc. So these are all the, sorry, I'll just hide this thing it properly. So starting from wait till your notify all. These are all the inherited APIs. And which is the reflection API we used for this? Get methods. Okay. But as I told you, real power of reflection lies in accessing private members also. So which was the method name? Get declared methods. And can you see something? Now you won't get any inherited API, but can I access the private method also? Can I get the reference of the private method? Answer is yes. Understood things? Spend time in the lab session today, tomorrow, sometime, and you will get it there. So this is the complete list of inspections you can do from a class. So what all we could do? We could load the name, we could load the class whose name is not known at the execution till the execution time. Which API? Class.forName. Once you say class.forName, it returns you the loaded class reference. So let me ask you a question. If I say, because I think people are still confused there, you gave me a wrong answer earlier. So if I say class.forName in the bracket, let's say, I'm just looking at it, p1.employee. I'll repeat the question. If I say on my RHS, class.forName, p1.emp, tell me the LHS, what will it return? RHS, I told you, class.forName in the bracket p1.emp, fully qualified class name. What will be the LHS? Type it out for me. It should not take you so much time. Okay, class of employee. Absolutely correct. So listen to the next question. So when this line is executed, how many classes are loaded in the method area and how many instances are created in the heap? How many classes? How many instances? One class loaded in the method area. Guys, that zero answer is wrong. That means you have not read that important line. Answer is one each. Here. Okay, not this. This is my sequence for my own reminder. And no, this is because you lost the on the important point. Read this slowly. JVM instantiates immutable instance of java.lang.class per every loaded class in the method area. Okay, forget the next line, which provides the inspection and the modification API. Forget that. So again, now let me ask you, when I say class.forName p1.employee, how many classes will get loaded in the method area? One. That is employee related information. But how many objects are created in the heap? Tell me. One instance is created. And what is the type of that instance? Is it a EMP instance or is it a class of the type EMP instance? EMP, option 1. Class of the type EMP generic type, option 2. It's the second option. Are you getting it? So this is the point. This is a starting point of reflection. And then you have seen so many methods. For example, get name, get superclass, get interfaces, get modifiers, get constructors, get fields, get declared fields, methods, get declared methods, etc. to find out the complete internal details of the class whose name also you did not know at the till the execution time. Understood the first half? Understood the power of reflection? Something at least 5-10%. I won't say the full this, but at least something. So now you should not have, whenever interviewer will not ask you too many questions on reflection, but interviewer can definitely ask you, how does Spring Container manage the Spring Bean lifecycle? So you will start, okay, it goes by the, it goes by the scope. So if it is singleton, checks the lazy init. If lazy init is false, that is lazy false means what? Eager. So it will start the life cycle. And the moment you say locate load instantiate, how does Spring Container know whatever follows is a Spring Bean? You will say there is a annotation @component, @service, @controller, etc. But how can your Spring Container know that this class is having this particular annotation? Answer is via reflection. So Spring Container or Web Container or Hibernate will open that loaded class definition and figure out the information. So I've not taken the example of annotation. I have taken it somewhere else, custom annotation or anyway, I'll show you. So here it's an interesting one. So let's see whether you get the point. So here I'm back into the class T. Here it is T, but when you access it to the return type, you say it the question mark because you can't use it. The T you can't use it on the left hand side. Anyway, so what I was going to show you was get annotation. So guys, it's not a difficult one to guess. So think like this thing, Spring Container. And how does it find out? Be a container, think like a Spring Container. And how will it know that what are the class level annotations on a particular class? Answer is right in front of you. How will Spring Container know or Web Container know or Hibernate know? It will simply call a method get annotation. Are you understanding it? And here it is going to supply the class to be loaded. And here it returns you the annotation. And then it will check Annotations are nothing but internally implemented as interfaces. Then it will check, is it add component? Is it whatever service repository, and manage the lifecycle accordingly. Getting some idea? So this was the contribution of the one half of reflection. Now the other half is modification. So inspection is over now. I'm showing you the modification part. Okay. So again, question answer format. This is an exam tip. I'm not really expecting you to really use it. There are ways you can use it, but we are not going there. So read and understand. So now, are we talking about finding the information of a loaded class, or are we trying to create some modification, as in creating an object or something? Inspection is over. We are creating the modification. Modification means creating an object on the heap. So how to create the instance of the class using the default constructor, argumentless constructor? The method is new instance. So it is a class method, class API. When I say class, I mean java.lang.class API, and the method is new instance. But is it a static method or a non-static method? Non-static method. So what will be the first step? You'll have to create the, you'll have to get the class instance by saying either .class, employee.class, or class.forName. And then on that, you can create a new instance method. So I don't know really how much you guys read the readmes which I have supplied. So it's a older reference. Do you remember that we have spent huge amount of time in serialization and deserialization in Java? Okay, do you remember serialization and deserialization? Okay, so what is, let me say this, which was the class we used for a deserializer? Object input stream. I don't expect you to remember. I have bombarded so many things in the last month or whatever. I know that. So object input stream. But I had said this multiple times. Let's see if you remember. What are the prerequisites for deserialization to happen? I'm not talking about your marshalling and marshalling. I'm talking in core Java, which is binary to object. What are the two prerequisites? One was the state, binary state, coming from that binary file. And the other one is the, yes, state and behavior means the .class files. So if you have written, if you have read my detailed serialization note, I have mentioned during deserialization, the first thing your JVM does, JVM is object input stream. It will first load the class using class.forName. And then it creates the instance of the class using class.newInstance method. And then it will check, then it will see from that incoming binary stream, it will load the state from that binary file and put it in that, reconstructed object. And that reconstructed object is returned when you say object input stream in dot read object. So like I said, guys, reflection is happening in, transparently or in the background. Only thing is we never talked about it. Okay, so that was the connection. You read that readme serialization. Anyway, it is interview help types. So at that time, you'll come across it. Now the next one. Can your reflection only allow you to call the default constructor, or can you also access a parameterized constructor? Parameterized is also possible. So what you do? What are the steps? So first step is here. What is it called? So there is a first is everything starts with the class. Then you say get constructors to refer to the list of constructors available, or you can say get constructor and supply a signature. So let me talk an example. Suppose I want to call this particular constructor using reflection. So what is the way out? So I'll say first I'll access the employee.class, and then I'll say get constructor. And what is the parameter signature? String.class and double.class. So then the reflection API will find the matching constructor. Of course, if you are messed up, it will get no such method. Constructor is what? Special method. So no such method exception. Or if you have added security constraints and you are not having a proper role, you will get a security exception. But if all goes well, then you have a constructor and then you can call the constructor class API. So you got a constructor reference and here you can pass the actual values, employee name, employee salary, whatever. And the method name is again new instance. Only thing is here it was parameterless because you are calling a default constructor. Here it is parameterized. So take a look at that and understand. Getting something? I'm just showing you how to call a default or a parameterized constructor. I'm not at all saying that reflection API is easy. That is why ordinary programmers like us, we hardly use it. Okay, so they are used by the containers, frameworks, and all that. So let me see. I don't remember exactly what all I have written. So let's see. Test 4. Okay, there are some deprecated APIs. Currently ignore deprecation. Okay, so start. I said this is a deprecated API. You can add the suppress warnings or less. Currently just go ahead with it. I'll highlight and you focus on it. Go step by step. So what is happening in line number 11? Line number 11, are you creating the instance of the employee class or is JVM creating the immutable class instance? First option or second option? Answer is JVM is creating. And what will be the type of that instance? Class of type employee. The moment I say in the middle of night instance, of course it is heap allocated. So one instance created, the employee class loaded, the bytecode information loaded nicely in the method area. Okay. Now, if you want to, they have replaced it by other APIs, but I'm not discussing all that. This is sufficient. So if you want to call the default constructor, what is the method I showed you? Employee class.new instance. And if you say SOP E, tell me, easy question. So toString here. So what do you expect to see? I've got a default constructor called. So what will be the values? Default values or initialized values? Easy question. Default values, what else? So 0, null, 0.0, grade was what? I forgot. Double, so 0.0. Okay, so that will confirm it is calling the default constructor. But is this possible to call? Is it possible to call parameterized? Yes, that is what my real thing was. So solve it slowly. What is it we are doing? We are creating a constructor reference to create the instance, parameterized constructor reference. So which is the method? Get constructor. What are the two arguments? Which one I'm choosing? The one with a name and a salary. So I chose it. Then now I'm creating a, this is not deprecated, overloaded method new instance. And here I'm passing the actual details. And naturally, when you say SOP E2, which part have I initialized the complete state or a partial state? Of course, partial. So the name and the salary will be initialized. Rest all will be default. Understood how to call the what is it called? Default as well as parameterized constructor via reflection. Got something or not? So you tell me, does this course sound easy? Or our usual one where I say employee 1 equal to new employee, let's say Madhura and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What is easier? What is faster? Which is higher performant? Of course, ready-made. That is the reason. But guys, containers don't have the information that you want to employee object. I can give any beans. I can configure anything and still container manages, all thanks to not inflection, reflection. Okay, so let's go to the dynamic method invocation and then let's see what, mostly we'll stop. So, yeah. So now the ultimate thing, what do you say? Not goal actually, but I can show you that this is really powerful technique. So tell me, till now, till today, could you invoke from outside the class any private API, private methods of the class? Was it possible ever? Answer is 100% not. You got this? But reflection makes it possible. So stepwise approach, because otherwise it becomes a little difficult. So I've given you the write-up also, which you just go through vertically. Guys, this is again to be treated as an exam question, exam objective. So I'm giving you a lot of information, much more than exam. But vertically, if you go through it, you'll start getting the idea about how it works. Coming back to the point, if it is a private method, first is, will you use get method or get declared method? Obviously, get declared method. And here you are supplying the name of the method to call. And the next one is, what is the argument list? Because guys, there can be so many methods in a class. So user will tell you that this is the name of the method I want to call, and match it with this signature. So for example makes it easier. So which is that employee, open that employee class and look for some, this private method. So I'll be calling employee class or whatever that C or class dot get declared method. And what will be the first argument? Name of the method, which is what? Update salary. And what is the argument type? Double dot class. So the reflection API gets the reference to this method. We've just got a reference to this method. We have not yet invoked it. Okay, go to the next step. So now, since the method is what? Private, you cannot access it directly. So there is a method, reflection class API, method class API. So set accessible to true, then you can invoke it. And last and ultimate step is, how do you invoke the method? In the method class, the name itself is invoke. And now you have to pass two arguments. If it is a static method, are static methods associated with a object? Never. So you can assign the first argument as null. Okay. And the second argument is the method arguments. So let me again tell you in example here. So guys, we have got the reference to this method. Now we want to dynamically invoke it. So what it will be? So that method reference. So method dot invoke. And now which object you want? That employee class instance. So that you will pass. And then the actual value of the increment. So suppose 1,000 rupees or whatever, whatever increment value. So see the power of the API. You don't know which is the name of the class. That all can come from user. You don't know which method. You don't know which parameters. Everything can be user driven. So this is, since the entire invocation is decided at the runtime, the approach is called as dynamic method invocation. So see the example of it and we'll test it, and I think that will be on. So here, start with the line by line approach. So start. EMP class is the class type of reference. Get declared method I'm using. The moment you try to call the accessible method, replace it by get method. What is the first argument? Name of the method. What is the second? It is a varargs. So if you have multiple arguments, you can have comma separated list of argument list, double dot class or integer dot class or whatever. So this is where you get the reference to the method which is to be called dynamically. Now, since it is private, you have to first give the permissions. So set accessible to true. And now, can you see something? Yeah, see this. This is where I have created, again using reflection API. The whole approach is using reflection, not doing anything in the usual style of programming. So what are the two arguments? First is the object, because this was not a static method. That update salary is associated with the employee. So first argument is that object on which the method has to be invoked, and this is the value of the increment. So when you actually see the result, the original salary was here, updated by 500, will tell you whether the dynamic method invocation actually worked. Understood the steps of dynamic method invocation? First is get the reference to the method, set the permission, make it accessible, and actually invoke the method either with null in case of static, not null actual object in case of non-static method with the argument list. So since it is a quite complex coding given you the all ready-made. So just look at it and we'll call it a lunch break. So here, this was the example. It is deprecated. There is a suggestion, but I just wanted to show you the class.newInstance method. Can everyone agree with me? It is a default constructor. Initialize the state to default. So you should be confirming this much. Now, I'm trying to call the parameterized constructor having this signature string comma double. And as you can see, the name is initialized and the salary is initialized. Rest all members uninitialized. If you want that, you have that other constructor. You can play with the code and you can have all args constructor and you can do this. And for calling the dynamic method, I've just said get method, set the permission. And as you can see easily, the salary increment has been added. So you tell me in the usual programming, regular programming, you would have just taken E1 or E2 dot update salary. So this is what your containers do in the background. Got some feel of it? The reflection techniques and reflection API. So I'm just thinking whether to take one. No, let's not take a, let's not start another topic. So after the lunch break, today I'll be joining. I won't wait till 4 o'clock. Otherwise it will become 8, 9, 10 in the night. I don't want that. So I'll join faster, earlier, I mean. And around 3-ish, I mean, I plan to this. This is 2 o'clock. Yeah, around 3:15 I'll join. And you have a, rather we have a long list. So first, of course, I'll explain the JVM architecture cloning, NIO just overview. And then some of the things are like, project tips. So that I can also say that, okay, go through all these project tips and look at it later. And some of the things I'll definitely get it done. So I think I've already shared all the things. Sequence I'm not yet sharing just for the fact I don't know how much I'm going to cover. So by the end of the day, whatever I cover in this manner will be discussed. And then there will be a lot of readmes and all for you to cover it on your own. So please go through. Reflection API, you can do it, a week before exam. Or maybe you can read it just now and just have it. But I want you to spend time before I join the labs to go through that Spring security. What is the highest important topic of today? Using Spring security, using basic authentication. So I have revised it multiple times. Please, today in the labs, I won't be able to revise it again. But if you have a specific question, I'll definitely answer. Are all the statements clear? So let us stop here for a lunch break and see you around 3. I mean, around 3:15, I'll be joining the labs.